For the Love of Money by Sam Pollock from New York Times. Part 1. In my last year on Wall Street, my bonus was 3.6 million, and I was angry because it wasn't big enough. I was 30 years old, had no children to raise, no debts to pay, no philanthropic goal in mind. I wanted more money for exactly the same reason an alcoholic needs another drink. I was addicted. 8 years earlier, I walked onto the trading floor at Credit Suisse First Boston to begin my summer internship. I already knew I wanted to be rich. But when I started out, I had a different idea about what wealth meant. I had come to Wall Street after reading in the book Liar's Poker how Michael Lewis earned $225,000 bonus after just 2 years of work on a trading floor. That seemed like a fortune. Every January and February I think about that time because these are the months when bonuses are decided and distributed, when fortunes are made. I'd learn about the importance of being rich from my dad. He was a modern-day Willy Loman, a salesman with huge dreams that never seemed to materialize. Imagine what life will be like, he would say, when I make $1 million. While he dreamed of selling a screenplay, in reality he sold kitchen cabinets, and not that well. We sometimes lived paycheck to paycheck of my mom's nurse practitioner's salary. Dad believed money would solve all his problems. At 22, so did I. When I walked onto the trading floor for the first time and saw the glowing flat-screen TVs, high-tech computer monitors, and phone turrets with enough dials, knobs, and buttons to make it seem like the cockpit of a fighter plane, I knew exactly what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. It looked as if the traders were playing a video game inside a spaceship. If you want this video game, you become what I most wanted to be, rich. It was a miracle I made it to Wall Street at all. While I was competitive and ambitious, a wrestler at Columbia University, I was also a daily drinker and pot smoker, and a regular user of cocaine, Ritalin, and ecstasy. I had a propensity for self-destruction that had resulted in my getting suspended from Columbia for burglary, arrested twice and fired from an internet company for fist fighting. I learned about rage from my dad too. I can still see his red, contorted face as he charged toward me. I would lie my way into the CSFB internship by omitting my transgressions from my resume, and was determined not to blow what seemed a final chance. The only thing as important to me as that internship was my girlfriend, a starter on the Columbia volleyball team. But even though I was in love with her, when I got drunk, I would sometimes end up with other women. 3 weeks into my internship, she wisely dumped me. "I don't like who you have become," she said. I couldn't blame her. But I was so devastated that I couldn't get out of bed. In desperation, I called a counselor, whom I had reluctantly seen a few times before I asked for help. She helped me see that I was using alcohol and drugs to blunt the powerlessness I felt as a kid and suggested I give them up. That began some of the hardest months of my life. Without the alcohol and drugs in my system, I felt like my chest had been cracked open, exposing my heart to air. The counselor said that my abuse of drugs and alcohol was a symptom of an underlying problem, a spiritual malady, she called it. CSFB didn't offer me a full-time job, and I returned, distraught, to Columbia for senior year. After graduation, I got a job at Bank of America by the grace of a managing director willing to take a chance on a kid who had called him every day for 3 weeks. With a year of sobriety under my belt, I was sharp, clear-eyed, and hard-working. At the end of my first year, I was thrilled to receive a $40,000 bonus. For the first time in my life, I didn't have to check my balance before I withdrew money. But a week later, a trader who was only 4 years my senior got hired away by CSFB for $900,000. After my initial envious shock, his haul was 20 times the size of my bonus. I grew excited at how much money was available. Over the next few years, I worked like a maniac and began to move up the Wall Street ladder. I became a bond and credit default swap dealer, one of the more lucrative roles in the business. Just 4 years after I started at Bank of America, Citibank offered me a 1.75 by 2, which means $1.75 million per year for 2 years. And I used it to get a promotion. I started dating a pretty blonde and rented a loft apartment on Bond Street for $6,000 a month. I felt so important. At age 25, I could go to any restaurant in Manhattan, per se, Le Bernardin, just by picking up the phone and calling one of my brokers, who ingratiates themselves to traders by entertaining with unlimited expense accounts. I could be second row at the next Lakers game just by hinting to a broker I might be interested in going. The satisfaction wasn't just about the money, it was the power. Because of how smart and successful I was, it was someone else's job to make me happy. Still, I was nagged by envy. On a trading desk, everyone sits together, from interns to managing directors. When the guy next to you makes $10 million, $1 million, or $2 million, doesn't look so sweet. Nonetheless, I was thrilled with my progress. My counselor didn't share my elation. She said I might be using money the same way I use drugs and alcohol, to make myself feel powerful, and that maybe it would benefit me to stop focusing on accumulating more and instead focus on healing my inner wound. Inner wound? I thought that was going a little far, and I went to work for a hedge fund. To be continued.